A part owner of a WNBA franchise just got benched before a single player did. 5 home games, an undisclosed fine, and a public apology from the majority owner who signs her checks, and all of it came down to 2 teenage girls holding a homemade sign. That is not a rumor, and it is not a hot take. That is the Seattle Storm. That is co-owner Celeste Keaton, and that is the league office in the summer of 2026 deciding very quickly who was going to take the fall. And here's the detail almost nobody is talking about. While the league found the speed to punish an owner in roughly 48 hours, it still cannot find the words to define the one sentence this entire mess is built on. One sentence. In a brand new contract signed in March of 2026. I will read it to you before this is over. And when you hear it, you are going to understand exactly why nobody in that front office wants to be the person holding the disciplinary pen. So do me a favor before we go deeper. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop one word in the comments telling me who you think is actually running this league right now, because by the end of this, you may not have an answer. And stay with me, because the wildest part of this story is not the owner, and it is not the sign. It is a viral claim about one of the most famous players in the WNBA that thousands of people still repeat as fact. And it collapses the second you actually check it. That is coming later. Let's go back to the night everything cracked open. July 28th, 2026, Climate Pledge Arena. The Indiana Fever were in town, and they won that game 105-95, which honestly became the least discussed thing that happened in the building. Outside beforehand, a few dozen people gathered in support of Fever guard Sophie Cunningham and in support of a Washington state ballot initiative that would bar transgender students from girls' school athletics. Balloons, a life-size Cunningham cutout, signs reading "Thank you, Sophie" and "With love is truth." By most accounts, peaceful. Then some of those people went inside to actually watch basketball. And that is where it turned. 2 teenage girls sat courtside wearing shirts printed with the X and XY chromosome pairs, holding a handmade sign that read, "Thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls." According to reporting from independent journalist Brandy Cruz, who was there, Storm co-owner Celeste Keaton approached those girls and told them they were, and I am censoring this, effing insane. One of the girls was left in tears. Cruz says she asked security to step in and was told to email the front office. Email the front office. 2 kids crying courtside, and the answer was a customer service suggestion. Cruz also described Seattle players making thumbs-down gestures toward them, fans booing them relentlessly, and video later obtained by Fox News showed an adult man telling their group to take out the trash as they left. But that wasn't the whole story, because the fallout moved faster than anything else this league has done all season. Storm majority owner Ginny Gilder issued a statement acknowledging that one of the co-owners made comments to 2 fans, saying, "We apologize that this happened," and committing to an environment where every fan is treated with respect. Then the league came down. Keaton was fined an undisclosed amount and suspended from the Storm's next 5 home games. The Storm's public response? They respect the league's decision. Translation: in plain English, the franchise cut her loose in a press release and moved on. And here's what almost nobody noticed. That was the single fastest, cleanest ruling the WNBA has produced in this entire controversy. Think about that. A league that has spent weeks calling this a complex and nuanced topic. A league that scheduled meetings and listening sessions rather than issue a policy. Somehow had zero difficulty finding a rule to enforce the moment the person in the wrong was an owner and the people harmed were paying customers with a camera pointed at them. That is not principle. That is public relations triage. And once you see the league office move that fast, one question becomes impossible to unask. If they can rule in 2 days on an owner cursing at teenagers, why can they not rule on the actual sentence at the center of all of it? All right, here is that sentence. The 2026 Collective Bargaining Agreement, signed in March, contains a single line in Article 13. Only players who are women are eligible to play in the WNBA. That is it. That is the entire eligibility framework. There is no definition of the word woman anywhere in the document, no hormone threshold, no documentation standard, no process, nothing. Somebody sat in a negotiating room in 2026, wrote that sentence, and let it out the door undefined. And for a while, nobody noticed. Then somebody did. Because in August of 2026, 2 former NBA players, Enes Kanter Freedom and Royce White, publicly declared themselves eligible for the 2027 WNBA draft, saying they identify as women. Whatever you think of that move, and I suspect you have thoughts, it was surgical. It exposed a hole in the paperwork that a billion-dollar league negotiated and signed. Within hours, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert sent a memo to team presidents and general managers. And that memo is the whole story of this front office in one paragraph. She called it a complex and nuanced topic. She promised important conversations with teams and the Players Association in the weeks and months ahead. And then she offered, and I promise you I did not invent this, listening sessions for any team leaders who would like to participate. Listening sessions. Not a ruling, not a definition, not even a deadline, sessions. Engelbert also made clear in that memo that eligibility rules are collectively bargained, meaning nothing can change without the Players Association at the table. And the union responded by saying it would not be used as a political pawn while standing on its principles. So now you have a league that cannot act alone, a union that will not be pushed, and a rule book with a hole in the middle of it. And that combination has a name in every other industry: paralysis. Then came the meeting everyone waited for. A task force of team presidents and general managers convened, discussed transgender athletes, and arrived at exactly nothing. No eligibility rules. The league's statement afterwards said the meeting covered a wide range of topics, including online hate directed at players, that they would engage stakeholders in the coming weeks and months. And then delivered the line that lit the internet on fire. There are no immediate eligibility matters affecting the WNBA, and we strongly denounce the bad faith efforts to use these topics to demean or marginalize others. Stephen A. Smith absolutely torched them for it. On his own show, he said, and I am cleaning it up slightly, it's too damn late. If your rules were more finite and clear, you wouldn't have to have a meeting of team presidents and general managers. You're the commissioner? You should already know. That is a man who makes a living defending this league, telling its commissioner she failed at the most basic function of the job, writing down what the rules are. And when your loudest ally in national media is the one holding the shovel, you are not in a debate anymore. You are in a credibility crisis. Now let's get to the part I promised you, because this is where the internet has been flat wrong, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. For years, a corner of social media has pushed a theory about Brittany Griner, complete with a story about a video sitting untouched on a platform for 106 weeks, and what that supposedly proves about detection software. Let me be blunt, because this channel does not do lazy. There is no evidence for any of it. It is a screenshot with a narrative stapled to it. Griner is a woman. She has been one her entire career. She is playing for the Connecticut Sun in number 42 in 2026, and no eligibility ruling of any kind has ever been brought against her. She has also had to publicly swat down fabricated stories about herself before, including a completely invented quote that was never said. No known transgender woman has ever played a minute in the WNBA. The only openly non-binary players in league history, Laisha Clarendon and A.D. Durr, were both female at birth. Those are the verifiable facts, and if you clicked hoping I would say something else, I would rather lose the click than lie to you. But that is exactly why the front office failure matters so much. Because when a league refuses to define its own terms, it does not create peace. It creates a vacuum, and vacuums get filled with garbage. Every week, the league office says, nuanced. Instead of writing a sentence, another rumor gets oxygen, another player becomes a target, and the front office gets to keep its hands clean while the athletes absorb every bit of the damage. That is not neutrality. That is outsourcing the consequences to your own employees. And no one has absorbed more of that than Sophie Cunningham. Here is what she actually said in her ESPN profile in July of 2026, in full, not the chopped up version. I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans, and I'm like, I never once said that. I think that I am here to extend love. But I also think with that love is truth, being honest. And I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Asked to walk it back, she did not blink. She said it was common sense, said she stands on it, and pointed straight at Title IX as the reason women's sports exist at all. Later, she added that she does not dislike anyone and that everyone is welcome at her table. That is not a politician. That is a 29-year-old bench guard averaging around 9 points a game, saying a thing out loud, and then refusing to launder it through a publicist. And now here is the uncomfortable math for the people holding the pen. Cunningham has already been fined by this league 3 separate times for comments made on her own podcast, one of them over a video about officiating. 3 fines for basketball opinions. So the precedent is established. The WNBA absolutely will reach into her wallet when she talks. That is what makes the coming months genuinely dangerous for her. She is not a franchise cornerstone with untouchable leverage. She is a rotation player and enforcer, the woman who is always the first one into a scrum, on a roster spot that can be non-tendered in an off-season with a quiet phone call and no press conference. If this league ever decides the noise around her is bad for business, nobody has to say a word publicly. They just do not offer her a contract. That is how front offices settle scores. Not with a suspension, with silence. Meanwhile, look who has not been fined. On August 2nd in Minneapolis, Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve wore a light blue shirt reading "Trans Kids Belong" under her jacket, while coaching her team to a 108-100 win over the Fever. A head coach on the sideline, wearing a message during a game, aimed at the middle of the biggest controversy in the sport. No fine reported. No suspension. Cunningham was booed on her first touch and all night long, while outside the arena a loudspeaker chanted and signs read both "Protect Trans Women" and "Thank you, Sophie." Small protests followed the Fever to Portland too, so a coach can wear her position on her chest during a live broadcast, but a bench guard gets billed for talking about referees on her own show. Explain the consistency. I am waiting. Indiana's own front office has not exactly covered itself in glory either. The Fever released a statement making clear the organization and Cunningham had no knowledge of the Seattle demonstration and no contact with the organizers, saying the only goal is to win games and make fans for life. Head coach Stephanie White, when asked, said, "I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer," and admitted she was not educated enough on the different levels of sport. And she has been catching heat all year, with open fan calls for her firing and the Fever president having to publicly address her job status. Meanwhile, Cunningham, the player being screamed at in arenas, publicly backed those 2 teenage girls anyway, saying there is a safe space and love for everybody and that you can disagree and still be kind, and telling them bravo for standing up for what they believe. Whatever side you land on, that is the only person in this entire story who put her own name on her position and then took the booze in person. Here is where it all sits right now. The Fever are 21-12 after a 106-92 beatdown of the New York Liberty, climbing the standings in a playoff race. And somehow the biggest story around this team is a sentence in a contract nobody wants to finish writing. A Storm co-owner is serving a suspension. A commissioner is scheduling sessions. A task force met and produced a press release. And an undefined word sits in the middle of a professional sports league like a live wire on a wet floor. So call it what it is, this was never a fan fight. This is an accountability story, and the people who should be answering for it are the executives who signed a contract they refused to define, then acted shocked when the world noticed. My honest read? Nothing gets decided this season. They will talk it into the offseason, hope the playoffs change the subject, and quietly hope the loudest player in the middle of it becomes somebody else's roster problem. If that made you angry, good. That is the correct reaction. Smash the like button, subscribe so you do not miss what the league office does next, and tell me in the comments who you think should be fined first. The owner who cursed at teenagers, the coach who wore the shirt, or the commissioner who still cannot define the W in WNBA. I read every reply.